Welcome to UFC Zone. Famous TikToker Conor films a clip of himself bumping up against the Mean Mug and Dana White, in which the TikToker ends up in a headlock.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It's really nice to watch. Thank you.
It's like watching that is like, damn, I could do anything.
An exchange between UFC lightweight Damir Hadzovic and longtime announcer Bruce Buffer has recently surfaced. The lightweight can be heard tell on Buffer that fighters do not get paid enough by the promotion, which the announcer appears to agree with. However, Buffer then advises Hadzovic not to mention that during his Octagon interview. Bruce Buffer responded, "Yeah, just don't say that in your interview." On his post-fight interview, Hadzovic did not mention fighter pay but alluded to feeling bad about hurting his opponent. He said there was mutual respect and he had no animosity towards Polo Reyes, but just wanted to put on a show for the fans. Jon Jones believes his next fight against Stipe Mitch is extremely important for his legacy. On Thursday, one fan tweeted that beating 40-year-old Stipe, who's past his prime, won't mean much for Jon's legacy. However, the newly crowned heavyweight champion disagrees with that statement. He tweeted, "In my head, he's better than he's ever been. He's definitely a lot more experienced and well-rounded than Gon. This is an extremely important fight for both of our legacies. I'm mistreated as such." Jones also shut down a potential future fight with Francis and Ngannou, writing, "I highly doubt it, especially after that first performance. Like I said, the dude left for a reason, came up with every demand and request in the world. He knew that UFC wasn't going to bend. He found his way out." Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili recently had a heated confrontation at the Fighter Hotel ahead of their saddest clash at UFC Fight Night 221. Speaking to media on Thursday, Yan shared some details of his altercation with Merab and explained why he refused to do a cross interview with him in the Schmo. He said, "I was leaving the hotel to train at the Pi, and he came up to me and he was asking for a cross interview with the SHMO to promote the fight. But like I mentioned, no one is interested in Merab, and I'm not interested in promoting him either. He tries to push himself too hard. He tries to force himself on being a fan favorite. But it never works out that way. The way he acts off camera is different. The way he acts on camera is a different way. When there's no camera, he's not saying much. I think he doesn't have any other way to bring attention to himself. He cannot do it with his fights. In his fights, all he does is like a dog, take the leg and push his opponents up to the cage." During a recent interview with Jimmy Smith on Unlocking the Cage, Jon Jones's longtime coach Brandon Gibson discussed how he thinks Stipe matches up with Bones.
I think Stipe is the most well-rounded out of the potential heavyweight matchups. First and foremost, he's a great heavyweight champion, so he has that confidence, he has that self-belief, he has that championship experience. Jon had more title victories than Surreal had fights. Where Stipe has, a lot of fights under the big lights. He's not going to be as easily to mentally break leading up to it. So obviously, Stipe has outstanding boxing, great wrestling. He has victories over Nagano and DC and Verdum and so many of the greats. He can punch well off his back foot. He can punch well pressuring, and he has great counter wrestling as well. So I think Stipe brings a lot to the table. I think he brings a lot to the table, and I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup. But I have no doubt that Jon Jones at 35 years old is more explosive, dynamic, and powerful with the IQ and the technique to match. think it's going to be very hard for Stipe and his team to develop a game plan to beat Joe.
During a recent appearance on Andrew Schultz's Flagrant podcast, Chael Sonnen stated he was paid $8.8 million for his rematch with Anderson Silva. The numbers are jaw-dropping and a massive contrast to the reported payout of $50,000 that was reported at the time. The claim has been disputed by fans, and now in an interview with Jimmy Smith on Sirius XM, Sonnen clarified his comments and gave the full story about his claims of an $8.8 million payday.
Right now that you are telling God's honest truth, and that is all I need to know.
I am telling the truth, but I got to give you one exception because I didn't finish the thought. I feel like you were asking me behind the scenes, Chael. Come on, I did an Ultimate Fighter after that, and that was included. There was Anderson. It had a little touch. It had a little touch of a box contract. And one thing that Dana said to me, he called me up after the fight. You know, they were giving bonuses back then. I think they were called like locker room bonuses. You remember that in the Lorenzo day?
Yes.
This is my moment, man. I know this call's coming, and we kind of had some things worked out ahead of time. I said, Chael, I'm going to give you a bonus, or I'm going to give you a job at Fox, but I'm only going to give you one. And I need to know now. And he said, and I will tell you, you're smarter to take the job at Fox, and I took it. And that turned into an Ultimate Fighter, and that I threw into my number. If you want the private answer of every little detail. Now, I wasn't trying to keep that out of the story. I just didn't really have time to throw those details in.
For more UFC updates, right-hook that subscribe button.